Hilchis Shegagos Perik Revi. Ha'isa Averis Harbe Behelamachas Chayiv Chatos al Kolachas Vachas. Afilo also Harboim V'Sholish Elu Shemaninu Behelamachas Chayiv Harboim V'Sholish Chatois. Now, when a person forgets, he does an Isser because he forgot that it's Asr. And then he goes ahead and he does this Isser once, and second time the same Isser. So since it was Behela Machas, he's only Chayiv one. He ate Chaylev, and then he ate Chaylev again and again. So even though he ate Chaylev many times, different times, but nevertheless, since it was all with Hela Machas, so therefore he's only Chayiv one. If, however, he would remind himself in the middle, he ate Chaylev, and he reminded himself that Chaylev is Asr, therefore he did something wrong, and then again he ate Chaylev again, he forgot again, so it would be Shtei Alamas, and then it would be Chayiv Shtayim. B'medvar Mamurim, when we're dealing with the same Aveira, when he does the same Aveira, so then there's a difference if it's Behela Machas or B'Shtei Alamas. Masha'inka, when he's doing different Aveiras, he's eating Chaylev, Neser, V'dam, so even though when he ate the Neser, he didn't remember that he ate Chaylev and that he did something wrong. He ate Chaylev, he didn't know that he ate Chaylev, and then he ate Neser, so that's called Behela Machas. There was no remembering about the Isser, although he forgot about each one separately. But nevertheless, it was Behelim Achas, in other words, he didn't remember about the other Isurim. So Lepel, since we're dealing with two separate Isurim, so therefore you chayiv on each one. Again, Ha'isa Averis Harbi, Behelim Achas, so chayiv Chatos, Al Kol Achas V'Achas, Afilo Oso Arboim V'Sholish Eilish Shemaninu, Behelim Achas, is chayiv Arboim V'Sholish Chatois. So that's what the Pasha is talking about, that he did three separate Maisim. So even though it was Behelim Achas, but since it was three separate Averis, he's chayiv three. He ate chaylev, he ate neser, and he ate dam. V'chein, im osa ma'isa echot, shehu chayiv olav mishum shemus harbe, the very same act he did mishum shemus harbe, is also chayiv al kol shem v'shem, he's chayiv for each avera that was done in this act. For who? But that's on the condition, shehoyu either he yisurim kulan boin b'achas, ka'achas, it was shnei yisurim which was boin, or the yisurim were boin ka'achas, that's one option. Oy Isser Meisiv, that was an Isser Meisiv, an Isser Kel. In other words, we have a rule that ain't Isser Halal Isser. So if you have something that's Asr, now something else comes along, and because of that it's again Asr, but since it was already Asr before, so the Isser, the second Isser is not Halal on the first Isser, it was already Asr first. But Medvar Mamurim, Stamazeh, a regular situation, ain't Isser Halal Isser. However, if the Shnei Yisurim were Boin Kachas, both Yisurim came together, like we'll see examples, or you have a case of an Isser Moisef. An Isser Moisef means that it became Usser to more, the second Isser is Usser to more people than the first Isser was Usser to. Or Isser Kailel means the Isser is including more objects than the first Isser was Usser. A regular example of Shnei Yisurim Boin Kachas would be someone married a woman. Now his brother is now usher on this woman for two reasons. First of all, she's Eishes Achiv, and secondly, she's an Eishes Ish. So now Lepel, if they get divorced or he dies, so then could be the Eishes Ish will go off and the Eishes Achiv will still remain. But at this point in time, Reuven married a woman. Now Shimon, his brother, is usher to live with this woman, side because she's an Eishes Ish, because Reuven is married to her, and side because the Eishes Achiv, and that's Shnei Yisurim Abayim Keachad. So that's when two Isur Machal, and there's no issue of Isur Chalal Isur. Now, a case of an Isur Meisif means that there was an Isur, she was already Isur, but now something else happened, and that Isur is including more people, other people. For example, this case, let's talk about, it will be Bahemshech, an Eishes Achiv, someone that's Eishes Achiv, so the brother is now that I married this woman because she's an Eishes Ish, and also because she's Eishes Achiv. Now this woman became a Nida. Now, becoming a Nida also asks her to her husband. So since this becoming a Nida asks her to her husband, so Mamela, she also becomes Aser to her husband's brother, Alts Nida. So now if her husband's brother will live with her, he'll be over Sayin Eshes Achiv and Sayin Eshes Ish and Sayin Nida, even though Nida is being Chal in the previous Isurim, but that's called a Nida is an Isser Moisiv. In other words, being Moisiv, this Isser to other people. So Mamela, Hu Adin, it's the people that were originally Asr are also Asr Mishum Nida. That's the din of Isser Meisif. Now Isser Koilel would mean that it's the Isser which is Koilel more things. For example, you have Chaylev. There's an Isser to eat Chaylev. Now all of a sudden it's Yom Kippur. So now there's an Isser to eat this Chaylev because it's Yom Kippur. But L'chura in Isser Chalal Isser, it's Asr to eat it because it's Chaylev. Now you're saying it's also to eat it because it's Yom Kippur. So maybe the Isser of Yom Kippur shouldn't be Chal on the Isser Chalev. But the Maisa is that the Isser Yom Kippur is Chal also on other foods. It's not only Chal on Chalev, it's Chal on other foods. All kosher foods are also Nichlal in the Isser of Yom Kippur. So therefore, once it's Koilul, other foods, it's also Koilul Chalev, which was arson in the first place. So in other words, the Chalev between Isser Moisef and Isser Koilul on a Pashto level is the Isser Moisef means it's answering this item to more people. It's answering to more people. The fact that she became a Nida, now all of a sudden she's usher also to her husband. Mashenkin Isser Koilul is not the type it's answering it to more people. The Chalev was usher to everyone that Yom Kippur is a din. But the Pshat is the Isser Koilul means it's including more objects. The things that are usher is more inclusive as far as the objects is concerned. So since it's all types of food, so who adin, when a person eats chaylev, he's chayiv al two. So bekitzer, in order to be over two isurim with one act, there has to be some. You have to make sure that it's not. No, there has to be in a way that there's no problem. There's no issue over here of ein isur chal al isur. So normally, if you have an isur and then another isur is chal, so the rule would be ein isur chal al isur. If the two isurim were boing keachad, or if the second isur was b'chinas isur meisav, which means it's including other people, like nida, as we said, or it's an isur koilel, which means it's including other items, like Yom Kippur legabi chaylev, so mele will become an isur on. If a person eats chaylev on Yom Kippur, he's chayiv shtayim. Same mitzad chaylev, same mitzad Yom Kippur. Now the Ram will give the examples. The Ram gives really his only examples of isur meisav. He doesn't include over here an isur of isur koilel. Ketzad. Hashoichet behemas kotchim chutz la'azora b'shabes lavid azora. He goes ahead, takes a behemas kotchim, and he shechts it outside the azora, and it's on Shabbos, and he does it the avid azora. So the din is chayiv sholish chatois. Mishum sheichet kotchim b'chutz. It's a yisur. It's a koris. It's chayiv achatos. And also mishum mechal Shabbos. So again, it's a chayiv chatos. It's a chayiv chatos. And also mishum avid avid azora. Now, Lechur is doing all, he's being over on all three. The answer is, Shleisha, so Yisurim Boim Kachas. Over here, because Shleisha Yisurim Boim Kachas. Now, over here, the musik of Shleisha Yisurim Boim Kachas over here is a chidush, that this is called Shleisha Yisurim Boim Kachas. Normally, when we say Shleisha Yisurim Boim Kachas, the pshat is, there's a cheftza of Isur, and this cheftza of Isur has, it has two Isurim, and since these two Isurim were Boim Kachas, so therefore, they're called Shnei Yisurim Boim Kachas. As the example, an Eshes Ach. So when they got married, this woman is Osir, Sai als Eshes Ach, and Sai als Eshes Ish. So she's a Chefza de Yisura Legavi, this person. She's an Eshes Ish, and she's an Eshes Ach. When it comes over here, Benegeya, Lavid Zora, and Shabbos, and Shchut Echutz, L'chura Fakert, it didn't really happen together. Whereas when the Behema was, when there was first the Behema, so there was an Isur to Shech, there was an Isur, there was an Isur Shechtes Behemah Tavi the Zara. At first, there was only an Isur Shechtes Behemah Tavi the Zara. Then, when the Behemah became Kotchim, there became an Isur to Shechted Bachutz. And then, when it became Shabbos, came an Isur to Shechted B'Shabbos. So, l'chur, it's not really Shleishi Yisurim Boim Kachas. And the answer is because the din that you're not allowed to Shech Tavi the Zara is not a din in the Behemah. The din that you're not allowed to Shech B'Shabbos is also not a din in the Behemah. So it's a din. You're not allowed to shech kotchim b'chutz. You're not allowed to shech lavid azor. You're not allowed to shech on Shabbos. So elamai, if it's not a din in the behemoth, so what do we need the din of shleish yisurim boim kachos? It's like a chiddush. They bring from the Karaneda that he says it's a chiddush in Rambam that when a person does an isser, which is really the isser that in the act, a person is doing an isser in the act. It's not really doing. There's no chefza the isura. He's taking a behemoth and he's shechting it lavid azor. He's taking a behemoth and he's shechting it on Shabbos, and he's taking a behemoth and he's kotchim bachutz. But since all these three ma'isa averos are being done bebasachas, so therefore that's also called shleisha yisurim boim kachas, because in one act he's doing all the averos. It still has to be explained, but that says clearly in Rambam that when a person goes ahead and shechs lavid zara on b'Shabbos and kotchim bachutz, he's chayiv 3. And goes under the based on the rule and the shleishi surim boim kachas yachayv. Then he says, "B'medvar mamurim." When this rule, this din, that when a person shechts b'Shabbos, kotchim b'chutz l'shem avidazor is chayiv 3. That's b'medvar mamurim beoimer b'gmar zvicha hu'evedesa. that the Avodah Zarah, that he's going to be oivet, the Avodah Zarah will be only b'gmar zvich. Aval hoyse kavanasi lekach. If his kavanah wasn't b'gmar zvicha, but it was rather, the kavanah wasn't b'gmar zvicha, he wanted right away when he starts shechting, it should be l'Avodah Zarah. So then is mishiyishchit b'ma'at l'sham Avodah Zarah, as soon as he shechts it l'sham Avodah Zarah, b'tchilas hashchita, so tiyaser, so the behemoth is already aser. And once the behemoth is aser, is einei chayv mishum shchutei chutz, at sheyishchit shnai, veinei chayv mishum shchutei chutz. In order to be chayv shchutei chutz, it has to be a proper shchita. When are you over on the issue of shchutei chutz? When you actually shechted it. When does the behemoth become aser? When you shecht something l'Avodah Zarah, becomes aser when you start shechting it. When you start shechting it, it already becomes aser. Is mishiyishchit b'ma'at l'shem Avodah Zarah, it's already aser. And veinei chayv mishum shchutei chutz, when it will be aser mishum shchutei chutz, at sheyishchit shnayim mereiv shnayim. Is v'nimtza, so the problem is kshegomer hashchita, is the shochat behemoth aser l'karban. The Yisr of Shchuti Chutz is a behemoth which you could be makriv bifnim. You're not allowed to be makriv b'chutz. Now this behemoth, when are you over on Shchuti Chutz? When you're gomer ashchita, when you're sheichet reiv shnayim. And at that point in time, way before you were gomer reiv shnayim, you weren't already able to shechted bifnim because you already started the shchita for Avodah Zarah. So therefore, you wouldn't be over on Shchuti Chutz. So therefore, the Rambam says, in order to be chayiv, say on Shchuti Chutz, and say on Shechita l'Avodah Zarah, it has to be that you're saying that the Avodah Zarah, the din that should be l'Avodah Zarah is only b'gmar Shechita, and since it's only b'gmar Shechita, so mele the Isra of the Behemoth only comes with b'gmar Shechita, and together with that gmar Shechita, you're also being over on Shechutei Chutz and also on Isra Shabbos. So mele you chayiv on 3 chatois. Now hoysa chat, this was talking about a Behemoth. Now hoysa chatos oif, a oif only needs the Shechita of one siman, doesn't need the Shechita of both siman. That's number one. Now there's a din that a kana, the kana doesn't, even if it was severed till mamish 50%, so it's not considered a treifa. The veshet, if it was severed a little bit even, it's considered a treifa. Mashenkan a kana, if it was severed, even 50% is not a treifa. So therefore you can have a mitzvah of a chatos, which the kana was already severed 50%, and now you're going ahead and shechting it, l'Avodah Zarah, and also on Shabbos, and the middle Yechayiv, on both of them together. Now that is a Shchutei Chutz. Hoyse chatos oif, v'hoyse chotzi kana shelo pogum. So it was already chotzi shelo pogum. So you only have to do the little bit to make it from the chotzi orev. V'heise beikol shu b'Shabbos, and it was l'sham Avodah Zarah. So in that case, it's over here. You have chayiv sholosh chatois. Sharei shleishes yisurim boim kachas. All 3 yisurim boim kachas. So again, the Rambam really is saying over here the word shleishes yisurim boim kachas, which the Rambam really, the idea of Shnei Yisurim Boim Kachas was the gather of Ein Yisur Chalal Yisur. But L'chur over here, the gather of Shleish Yisurim Boim Kachas is a different gather, because L'peil, if you're going to be Sheichet to l'Avodah Zarah before you shechted Shchutei Chutz, so it became Aser, so Mamela, technically there's no din of Shchutei Chutz. Now mitzad the din of Yisur Chalal Yisur. I'm just saying, the Rambam used the Lashon before, Sharei Shleish Yisurim Boim Kachas, and over here again he's using the Lashon Shleish Yisurim Boim Kachas. L'chur over here he certainly doesn't mean the general din of Shnei Yisurim Boim Kachas. So it could be maybe before he also didn't mean it. Maybe before he also didn't mean it. Then the Rambam says another case, Ho'esa Mulacha B'Yom HaKippurim Shechol Yis B'Shabbos. So now today is Shabbos and today is Yom Kippur. So the din is Chayiv Shtei Chatois. Again, Shnei Yisurim Boim Kachas. It became Shabbos, and at the same time it became Yom Kippur. And as a result of that, it's also to do malacha on Shabbos and on Yom Kippur. Now, a person is ba aleishis achiv akayim, which we mentioned before. Shehi nida, and she's also a nida. So the din is maybe shalosh chatois. Why? First of all, mishum eishesish, mishum eishesach. Vehem shnei yisurim babayin kachas. As soon as the brother married her, so she became an eishesish, and she also became an eishesach to this brother. And now she also became a nida, mishum nida, which is shehu isur meisef. Why is it an isur meisef? Shemitech shnei tesu ba isur zel lebayla is neisef livama. By nida is neisef. No, nida is not only to this eishesach. The nida is also to everyone, to lebayla as well. So Mela, since she becomes a nida lebayla, and over there certainly there's no isur chalalisa. That the only isur is nida. So Mela, so becomes also a nida on this other person, which is already asur b'tzad eishesach and eishesish. So on all these cases, we're saying the Rambam is giving you a case of, giving us a case of Shnei Yisurim Aboin Ka'achas, and also a case of Isur Meisif. Haboal Aviv, a person who's Boal Aviv, is also Chayiv Shtayim. Achas Mishum Ervach Savicha L'Segala, Mishum Ve'Zocha L'Sishkav. So generally there's a din that with every Zocher is L'Sishkav. With Aviv, there's a special din that Aviv L'Sishkav. Now, the Aviv was a Zocher and Aviv at the same time. As soon as he was born, he had a father which was a Zocher. Mamela, he had both Yisurim on the same person. That is Zocher L'Sishkav and Ervach Savicha L'Segala. V'chein Aboal Achi Aviv is also Chayiv Shtayim. Because again, when that person is Achi Aviv, so he was Achi Aviv and a Zocher at the same time. Shneim Ervas Achi Aviv L'Segala. Now the Rambam says a din faket. Now there's a din the other way, that you could do two averis, and bepeil you only chayiv one. Till now we're speaking about doing one maisa and you chayiv many. Here the Rambam is saying faket. Boal zocher. A person was boal zocher, and he was the boil of the zocher, and the heavy zocher olav, he was the nival with the zocher, and we'll learn behemshah that's really the same zocher. Is behelamachas was all done behelamachas. Is Aval Pisha in Shnei Gufim. Now over here, Shnei Gufim doesn't mean two scharim, two separate scharim. In other words, there was one zocher that this person was a Baal of, and there was another zocher which was Baal of. Because in such a case, the Rambam is going to say Behemshech that by Shnei Gufim he's Chayiv Takashtayim. So over here, it means Shnei Gufim, over here he acted as a Nival, and over here he acted as a Boil. That's the type Shnei Gufim. That's not the normal Lashon, but that's Muchrach to say Pshat. Aval Pisha in Shnei Gufim, there were like two separate acts. Over here he acted as a Boil, and over here he acted as a nival. Nevertheless, eini chayiv alachatas achas. Why? Shenema vezocher l'sishkav. So we learn out from this pasuk shishkav. We darsen sishochev. So we learn out that ashechiv v'hanishkav shem echad. So the din of shechiv and nishkav have one shem. So therefore, even though it was two separate maisim, but since it's b'shem echad and it was b'helam echad, he's only chayiv one. So again, we're talking about the same zocher. So there was a Reuven that was Baal Shimon. And then there was the Shimon that was Baal Reuven. So both of them they were Saya Sheikhav and Saya Nishkav. So each one is only Chayiv one. V'chein Aboal HaBehema and Behema Olav, Behela Machas. So again, over here, even though L'chura there were two acts, there was a Behema that was Baal Olav and he was Baal HaBehema, but nevertheless, Eini Chayiv Alachatas Achas. Why? Because also HaSheikhav and Nishkav, Behema V'zocher Kibil Achas. It's considered like Kibil Achas, and therefore it's considered one Aveira. It's one Aveira even though there's a Sheikhav and a Nishkav. So I'll call upon the Nukud of the Halach is that a person can do one act and be Chayiv many Chatois on the same act. That's only on the condition that these two Aveiras are either Shnei Yisurim Aboin Ke'achas, or it's an Isur Moisef, or it's an Isur Keilu. The Rambam gives us a few examples. And then there's a case where a person does two acts and he's only Chayiv one. That's the case of the person's Abala Zocher, and the Zocher was Ba'olov, so he was the Sheikhav and he was the Nishkav. Now that is Abala Behema, the Behema was Ba'olov, so even though he was a Sheikhav and a Nishkav, nevertheless he's only Chayiv one. Halacha Beis. Yesh Boil Be'ila Achas, V'chayiv Allah Shmei Nechatois. As the Rambam said, that you could do one Maisa and be over on Kama Averis, as long as they were either Boim Be'basachas, or there was an Isser Moisef, or there was an Isser Kail, or else there would be a problem with Ein Isser Chalal Isser. So there could be a Hechatimtza. The Rambam gave us a Hechatimtza where a person does one Maisa and he's being over on he's being Chayiv Eight Chatois, because there was the Isser, there was Boy B'Pasachas, and also Mitzad Isser Meisa. The Rambam in this example doesn't give us the din of Isser Kail, but just maybe to add over here, until now we learned the situation of Isser Meisef means that there was a new Isser, and that new Isser was also negaya to other people, and therefore as a result of that it's also negaya to the person that she was usher for originally. So we had the case of a woman that was usher because she was Eishes Ochiv and she was an Eishes Ish, and then she became a Nida. So becoming a Nida, she becomes Asura L'Baila. So once she becomes Asura L'Baila, beside Nida, she's also Asura to this Ochiv, to this person that she was usher, Al Eishes Ochiv, also Al Nida. So it comes out that this Isser becomes an Isser for one person, so Al Derazeh becomes an Isser for the other people which were Usser originally. Here we're going to learn that B'yei Chatimtza, where a woman is Usser to a person, and now something happened, and as a result of that she becomes Usser to other people, and because she becomes Usser to other people, in one Isser, she also becomes Usser to the people that she was original Usser to as another reason. In other words, we'll have an example. It's not the same Isser. Normally, would say Isser Mesav, the same Isser was Chal on them as Chal on her. But over here, we'll have a situation where a woman, she became an Eishes Achiv to some people, and as a result of that, she becomes Asr to another person, Als Kalose. That's what we're going to learn in this Achidush in the din of Isser Mesav. Let's learn inside. Yesh boil bila achas v'chayev aleh shmeina chatois. Ketzad. Yankiv shehoiseloi bas mizilpa u'shma Timna. So Yankiv has a daughter called Timna, and her mother is Zilpa. Now Zilpa is not Lavan's daughter. Zilpa, the original Zilpa, is Taka Lavan's daughter. That's why the Rambam is going to Bavaran. Lavan has a daughter Rachel, and Rachel is also married to Yaakov, but that's a separate issue. But Zilpa is not Lavan's daughter, so therefore Zilpa has no problem marrying Timna, because Timna is not his granddaughter. Yankiv shehoisele bas mizilpa ushma Timna, and then Nasa Lavan Timna. Lavan gets married to Timna. He gets married to his son-in-law's child. Nasa Lavan Timna, and vehelid mimeno bas ushma Serach. Ve'en lo Lavan bas el Rachel. Lavan has nothing to do. He wasn't related to Timna, so Serach is a perfectly kosher child. Ve'en lo Lavan bas el Rachel levada. Lavan's daughter is only Rachel, which is married to Yaakov. Nimtza. So it comes out that this Serach, which is Bas Yankov, Serach is Yankov's granddaughter. In other words, Yankov has a daughter called Timna. Lavan married Timna and gave birth, and they had Serach. So Serach is Bas Yankov, Bas Timna, which is Bas Yankov. And she's also Vaches Ishtei Me'avia, because she's Lavan's daughter, so Memela she's Rachel's sister Me'avia. So therefore, Nitzaz, that this Serach, which is Bas Yankov, and also Vaches Ishte Me'avia, Heim Shneis Isurim Abon Kachos. So now when we think about Serach's relationship to Yankov, Serach is his granddaughter, Bas Bite, and also she is Aches Ishte. So she's Shnei Asurim Abon Kachos. So that's the Erste Zach. Now, Nisas Serach LeRuven. Yankov also has a son Reuven. He has many sons. So he has other sons as well. So he has a son Reuven, and this son Reuven married Serach. So again, there's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong happened. Reuven's sister is Timna. So he married his sister's daughter. That's not a problem. Is Nisas Serach LeRuven. Now, through Reuven marrying Serach, is Nesra al Sharbne Yankov. She becomes Asr on all the other brothers of Reuven. Als Eishes Achiv. Now is Nesev Ba Isser Yankov Arei Kilose. So now she became, by Reuven marrying Serach, so she becomes Yankov's daughter-in-law. So this Serach is Yankov's granddaughter. This Serach is Yankov's wife's sister. But now by Reuven marrying Serach, she becomes Yankov's daughter-in-law. But the Maisa is normally you say Nisr Chalalissa. She was already Aches Ishte. She was already Basbite. But since Lepel, she's becoming Osir on Achei Ruven, which is really becoming Osir al Achei Ruven als Eishes Achiv. So as a result of that, this marriage is causing an Isser on Achei Ruven, so it also causes an Isser on Yankov as being Kalosi. That's the Chiddush over here in the Isser Mesav, that the Isser Mesav doesn't have to be in the same Isser. It's an Isser which is causing something for Reuven's brothers. Memela causes also for Yankov, even though it's two separate Isurim. So now this Serach is Sai Aches Ishtei, Sai Basbite, and she's also Kalasi. So there's already three Isurim. Now Mes Reuven a Girish, and then V'nisas Serach Zu Lachi Yankov Meimei. Now Yankov has a brother, which is only a maternal brother. They share the same mother, which is Negeh Sum Behamshach. They share the same mother. And now this brother of Yankov, Meimei, married this Serach, which is also, there's nothing wrong. It's his brother's granddaughter. His brother's granddaughter. So there's nothing wrong. So now, so now she becomes Asr to Yankov, als Eishes Achiv. So she's already Basbite, and she's already Aches Ishtei, and she's already Kalase, and now she becomes Eishes Achiv. But Lachur is Einis Chalalisa, but Meteir Shinesra al Shar Achei Yankov. Whereas till now she wasn't Asr on the Achei Yankov, as we're saying. The Achi Yankiv Me'imei is allowed to marry her. But now, by the fact that one of his brothers marry her, so she becomes Asr al Sh'ar Achi Yankiv. So therefore, Neisav Yankiv Ba'isr Eishes Achiv. So now she becomes an Eishes Achiv. So Yankiv is also an Isser of Eishes Achiv. So now this Serach is, again, she's Bas Bite, and she's Aches Ishti, that was originally, Shnei Yisur Mabon Keachad. She's also Kalose, because Reuven married her. And now she's also Eishes Achiv. She becomes Eishes Achiv. So we have already 4 Isurim between Yankiv and Serach. Again, B'teich Shenesra al Sharach Yankiv is Neisav Yankiv, but Isser Eishes Achiv. So now she's also Eishes Achiv. Now Meis Egirish. Now this Achi Yankiv Me'imei died, or he was divorced her, and now Venisa Serach Zu Li Yishmael. Now Yishmael is Yankiv's uncle. Yishmael is Yankiv's uncle. Yankiv has a father. His father is Yitzchak, and Yitzchak's brother is Yishmael. So now Messer Girish, this Ruvain died. This Achi Yankiv died, and now Venisa Serach Zu Li Yishmael. So now she got married to his uncle. Now Miteich Shenesra al Sh'ar Achei Yishmael. She becomes Asr on all the Achei Yishmael al Eishes Achiv. So now is Neisav Yankiv, but Isser Eishes Achiyaviv. So again, over here, this Isser Meisav again is this Isser Meisav is not the same Isser that's happening on the Achei of Yishmael. So over there is becoming an Isser because of Eishes Achiv, and here is becoming an Isser of Eishes Achiyaviv. But nevertheless, it'll become now Neisav Yankiv, but Isser Eishes Achiyaviv. So now Yankiv has already 5 Yisurim. There's 5 Yisurim. He has, again, he started off as being Basbite and Aches Ishtei, and then she became Kalose, and then she became Kalose, and then she became Eishes Achiv, then she became Eishes Achiv, and now she's becoming Eishes Achiyaviv. Now she's becoming Eishes Achiyaviv. Now Meis Yishmael dies, and V'nafla Livum Lifnei Yitzchak. She's Nafla Livum Yitzchak because Yitzchak and Yishmael are brothers. They share the same father. So Mela she's Nafla Livum. Now the emes is that Min HaTeira there's no Isser of. Now she is Yitzchak's great granddaughter. She's Yankov's granddaughter, so she's Yitzchak's great granddaughter. So Be'etzem Min HaTeira there's no Isser of a great granddaughter. A great granddaughter is a shnia, so therefore be'emes Yitzchak shouldn't be miyabim this Serach because she's his great granddaughter. But lepel if he was because she's a shnia, but if he was miyabim the ibn mischal. So now that's what he says. Mes Yishmael v'naflo liyibim lufnei Yitzchak, and now is va'aver Yitzchak v'yibma, and Yitzchak was taka miyabim is aval and va'aval b'shi shnia because she's his great granddaughter. Is now Miteich Shenesra al Shar Echav. She becomes Asr on Yitzchak's other brothers. Now L'chura, she was already married to Yishmael. She became Asr on the brothers of Yishmael. So L'chura, so over here we have to add that Yitzchak and Yishmael share the same father, but they don't share the same mother. So she becomes Asr on Yitzchak's maternal brothers. She becomes Asr on Yitzchak's maternal brothers. V'ava Yitzchak v'yibma aval pishishnila is Miteich Shenesra al Shar Echav, which he has from his mother, is Neisav ba'isel Yankiv mishum Eishes Aviv u'mishum Eishes Ish. So now she's an Eishes Aviv and she's also an Eishes Ish. Now she's Shnei Yisurim Boyim Kachas. So now we have this case already where we have already the Vaila 7 Isurim. We have 7 Isurim. Let's go over it again. This Serach started off as being she was the Bas Timna. So Memela, she was Yankiv's granddaughter, his daughter's daughter, and she was also Yankiv's wife's sister, because his wife is Rachel, and Lavan is this Serach's father. So Memela, she started off as being a Bas Bite and also an Eishes Aches Ishte, I'm sorry. She started off as being Bas Bite and Aches Ishte. Then Reuven married her, and Reuven, she became Kalose. Which is another Isus. Now it's Kalose. Now she got married to Achi Yankiv Me'imei. Got married to Achi Yankiv Me'imei. So she becomes Eishes Achiv. So she's a Basbite, she's a Aches Ishte, she's a Kalose, and she's Eishes Achiv. Then she got married to Yishmael, which is his uncle, which is Yankov's uncle. and now she became Eishes Achi Aviv. So she became Eishes Achi Aviv. Then she got married. She got Nochamal. So she got married. No, I'm sorry. We missed the chedus. Let's say it again. She started off as being Basbite. And she was also Aches Ishte. That was the first thing. Then she got married to Reuven, which is she became Kalasi. She became Kalasi. Then she got married to Achi Yankiv Me'imei, to Yankov's brother Me'imei. So she became Eishes Achiv. So she's Basbite, she's Aches Ishte, she's Kalase, and she's Eishes Achiv. Then she got married to Yishmael, and she became Eishes Achi Aviv. She became Eishes Achi Aviv. And then she got married to Yitzchak, and she became Eishes Aviv. And then she's also an Eishes Ish. This is the Seder Advar. She becomes an Eishes Aviv and an Eishes Ish. So Nesef Bal Isur Liyankim Mishum Eishes Aviv Mishum Eishes Ish. Shishnei Yisurim Boin Kechad. So she's a Basbite, she is a Aches Ishtei, she is Kalosei, she's Eishes Achiv, she's Eishes Achi Aviv, and she's Eishes Aviv. So now im Shogig Yankiv, ubo al serach zug shehi nida b'chai Yitzchok Baila, u'b'chai Rochel Eishes Aviv. If this Yankiv went ahead and he was born this serach, and she was a nida, and she was still married to Yitzchak. B'chai Yitzchak Baal is not enough really that he's still alive. It has to be that she's still married to Yitzchak. And also B'chai Rachel Eishes Eishes. So it's not really B'duik L'chura. Because B'chai Yitzchak Baal means they're married. B'chai Rachel Eishes Yankov is really not Neger that Rachel is married. Neger is that Rachel is still alive. So Memela Harei Chayev Ala Shmeina Chatois. So then Yankov will be Chayev for this Serach Shmeina Chatois. Why? So again the Chesh Mishubaz Bite. She's Timna's daughter. Umishum Aches Ishte, she's the Lavan's daughter, which is the same. Rachel is also Lavan's daughter, and also Mishum Kalase because she got married to Reuven, and then Mishum Eishes Achiv because Achi Yankiv Me'imei got married to her, and then Mishum Eishes Achi Aviv because Yishmael married her, and all Mishum Eishes Aviv because Yitzchak was Meyabim her, and also Mishum Eishes Ish because she's still married to Yitzchak, and also Mishum Nida. And she's also a nida. We're talking about if im shogig Yankov Baal said Zuk shei nida, b'chai Yitzchok Baila, b'chai Rachel Eishes Yankov. So then you're over on Shmeina Chatois. V'chein kol kiyetzbus, anything similar. So basically, the Yisod Advarim is the same Yisod. The Yisod is that if the Shnei Yisurim are born Kachas, so it's Chal, and an Isur Mesav is Chal. And over here, the Chiddush is that an Isur Mesav is Chal, even if Lepel, like in the case of the fact that Reuven got married to the Serach, so Reuven caused an Isser to Shar Ache Reuven als Eishes Achiv. So the Vaila, it becomes an Isser to Yankov als Kalos. It's not the same Isser. It's an Isser Mesa. This Mesa is causing a Yisaf of the Isser in one Isser, and that's also causing a Yisaf of the Isser, being Isser Chalal Isser, that there's an Isser of Kalos. Halacha Gimel. Now, Kol Elu, Shetiyasa Zu Ha'erva Aleim Be'Isser Mesa, we're saying, that let's say when Reuven went ahead and married Serach, so Lepeil, so since she becomes Asr to the Sh'ar Achei Reuven, so therefore she also becomes Asr to Yankov als Kalose. What is that? That din is only if Reuven actually has brothers. So Lepeil, Reuven actually has brothers. So there are people that are becoming Asr through this act of Reuven marrying her. They become Asr als Eishes Achiv. So Memela, so she becomes also Asr als Kalose. But if Reuven wouldn't have brothers, even though potentially, if he would have had brothers, this marriage would have asked them, but that doesn't cause the Isser to be Chal and Yankov. That's what I'm saying. Kol Eila Shetiyasa Zu Ha'erva Aleim Be'Isur Mesev Tzarech Sheyu Anoshim Acherim Mitzuim Be'elim K'nei Shetiyasa Aleim. There has to be Bepil Mamish that there are those people that are becoming Asr as a result of this mice, of what's happening. And then it could be also an Isser Mesev to the one that was Asr before. Mitesh and the Asr Aleim. Once they become Asr, is also through this is Yitesev Isser Achal Azeh, so it becomes Asr also to the other. Avalim Einam Mitzuyim, but if there's no one, these people aren't Matzu Ba'elim, Einam Heil Ilo Heil Azabonim. If this person would have children, Eyachim is Hoysen Nasr Aleim, is Memela Yitesev Ba'Isser Lozok. That doesn't happen. Sharei Ein Shom Ato Likben V'Layach V'Chein Kol Keitzvem. So since these people aren't here, so there's no actual Isser that's happening, so therefore the Isser Mesav doesn't happen. Halacha Daled. Misha Yenosi Sholish Nashim. and uba al ima shalachas mem, she aim ima shel shnia, she aim avia shel shlishis. Person was married to 3 women, and there was a woman that had 3 children. She had 2 daughters and 1 son. Now one of these daughters got married to Yaakov. So this woman is Yaakov's mother-in-law. Her daughter got married to Yaakov. Her second daughter's daughter got married to Yaakov. So therefore she is the grandmother of Yaakov's second wife. She is the grandmother of Yaakov's second wife. She is the maternal grandmother of Yaakov's second wife. Then her son's daughter also got married to Yaakov. So now she's the paternal grandmother of Yaakov's third wife. So he has 3 wives. One of them is a daughter of this woman. The other one is a granddaughter through her mother. And the third one is a granddaughter through her father. Now all of 3 things are also. There's an Isser to live with Chamaisei. There's an Isser to live with Eim Chamaisei. And there's a Isser to live with Eim Chamiv. So all 3 are Isurim. Now, how could these 3 Isurim be boing ka'achas if he married all 3 women at the same time? How could he marry 3 women at the same time? All 3 women sent a shliach to be Makabel Kedushin for them, and this shliach was Makabel Kedushin for all 3 of them at the same time. So Mele Yankov got married to 3 women at the same time, and these 3 women one of them was the daughter of this woman, one of them was the maternal granddaughter of this woman, and one of them was the paternal grandmother of this woman. Granddaughter of this woman. So now Yankov has 3 reasons that he's usher on this woman, and they're all the Yisurim boim kachas. So l'chur, if he was ba on this woman, so l'chur he's over on 3 Yisurim. So here's the chiddush that even though Be'emes is 3 Yisurim, but there's a special pasuk that teaches us that Shara Heina Zimahi, that this is considered one Isser. So it's one Isser. There's the Isser of the mother-in-law, the Isser of the mother-in-law's mother, and there's an Isser of the father-in-law's mother, and they're all considered one Isser. That's the Chiddush of this halacha. Halacha Dalet. Mi shoyinosi sholish noshim. Ubo al ima shel achas mem. He was born on his mother-in-law, on the mother of one of these wives, which is also shehem ima shel shnia, which is his mother-in-law's mother of the second wife, and shehem avia shel shlishis, which is his father-in-law's mother of the third wife. Izafal pishas kenazu he chamesei, his mother-in-law, the aim chamesei and his mother-in-law's mother, and the aim chamav and his father-in-law's mother, ushleish shemisem, the 3 Yisurim. So the chura there would be a svara that since the isur basachasi, and they were all isur basachas because he married them all together at the same time. He married them all. So the chura there would be a svara that they should be chayiv shalosh chatois. So the chiddush is no ein chayiv alachatas achas. So the fisha namar beisho bas ubito bas bno bas bita. Over there it says shara heina zimahi, and that pasuk beisho ubito bas bno bas bita we learn out that it's talking about the mother-in-law and the mother-in-law's mother and the father-in-law's mother. Al Koper, that's the limit of that pasuk. And over there it says shara heina zimahi. So we learn out hakosav asa shleisha gufim ki guf echad. So it's zimahi, it's loshen yachid, that it's one zima, it's all the same isser of mother-in-law. So it's a mother-in-law, it's mother-in-law's mother, father-in-law's mother. It's all considered one isser. Lefichach yichoshva shleisha shem is kishem echad. Therefore, they're all considered one shem, and therefore, when a person lives with a woman that's all 3, chamesei and eim chamesei and eim chamiv, he's only chayiv 1. Halacha hey, aval abal achesei. You have one woman that's Sai his sister, and Sai his father's sister, and Sai his mother's sister, which can only happen through Kami Yisurim. So then you chayiv sholish chatois. As opposed to what we learned in Halacha Dalet, that over there someone that's chamesei and eim chamesei and eim chamiv, you only chayiv 1. Mashenkin over here by achesei, someone that's achesei and achesav and achesimei, you chayiv 3 shnemer erves achesi gila. So we learn out chayiv al achesi b'fnei atzma. There's special, this din that if she's a chesed, so you're chayv b'fnei atzma, even though she's also a chesed of a chesimei, which be'emes is lav dafka by a chesed. It's by all arayas. This from here we learn out this musik that if you have a arayas which are 2 shemis, and it's the same person that have arayas of 2 shemis, so then also you could be chayv on each one. You could be chayv on each one separately, on each shem ever separately. Yeah, that's this limud. I mean, the passage sounds like there would be a svara that since she's a chesed and a chesav, it's hard to understand what's the connection Din achese and achesov and achesime. L'chur is separate in yonim. There's a din achese, there's a din achesov, there's a din achesime. The chiddush over here is that even though it's separate, it's all b'shem arayas, but nevertheless you're chayiv on each one b'fnei atzmi. L'chur, that's the pshat. So chayiv al achese b'fnei atzmi afal pishe achesime v'achesov, which is the mocker for the whole musik that if you have one woman that has two shemis, and so memele if it was bebasachas or if it was isur meisif, so then you're chayiv on each one separately. Now, v'heich tiyaz is, how could there be a heichatimtza? That you should be a woman that's sayach chese and sayach chesov and sayach chesimen. So this is it. Kigein sheboal imei, someone was a boal imei, and v'heilid bimena shtei bonos. So there's two daughters that came from the fact that he was a boal imei. Now, this same person that was a boal imei, uboal achas mibnesav, he went ahead after he was boal imei, and he had these two daughters, mamzeres. So now he was boal achas mibnesav, and v'heilid bimenu ben, and now he has a ben from one of these two daughters. Now, Shabo HaMamzer Hazeh Alabasa Shenis, when this mamzer, this ben that was born from this person that was Bo Al Bitei, and this bas was born from the fact that he was Bo Alime, two bonis, is Kshiyavi HaMamzer Hazeh Alabasa Shenis, which is the Chaches Ime HaMamzeres, she's the sister, the two sisters were born from this person that was Bo Alime, she Chaches Ime HaMamzeres, which is also Aches Ime Yovev. She's also Achesim Yoviv because he was first Baal Imei and then he had these two daughters, and then he was Baal one of these daughters and he had him. So Mela, now when he's being Baal on one of these daughters, so this daughter is Sai, she's Aches Imei HaMamzeres, obviously, and she's also Aches Miyoviv. She's also, because they share the same father. And she's also Aches Aviv Miimei, because Lepel, she was born, the father was Baal Imei, and he had these two daughters. So this daughter is Achesei Me'aviv. She's also, she's Achesei Me'aviv, because they share the same father. She's also Aches Aviv, because she shares with the father the same mother. And she's also Achesei, because they share the same father. He was a Baal Imei, and he had two daughters. Then he was born one of these daughters, and he had a son. So now this son goes ahead and he marries the other daughter. He marries the other daughter. So this other daughter is his mother's sister. This person had two daughters. One of them is this daughter. She's his mother's sister, and she's also his sister because they share the same father. These two daughters were born from this same father that he was born, and she's also Aches Aviv Meimei. She is also the sister of the father. Why? Because this father was Baal Imei. So Memela, this daughter is this father's sister. Memela is Chayiv Sholish Chatoy. Sayal Sachese, Sayal Sachese Aviv, and Sayal Achese Imei. V'chein Kol Ki Etzebuz.